Welcome to the Cocktail Club podcast by Cocktail Kompany. This podcast deep dives into the world of F&B and everything in between. And today on this episode, we have a dear friend of mine, Apoorva from Sidecar, who's also the winner of the 50 Best Blend Scholarship as well. And she's not only breaking barriers in the industry, but also, how do I put this?
How do I put it? Creating scandals every day.
Creating scandals everywhere.
So please don't put that. Please don't put that.
No, but I think let's just straight get to the point. I think the first question which I want to ask you is, I'm very curious to know this. What was your first interaction with alcohol as such?
I technically see I'm still underage.
Yeah.
So for all the police people out there, I've never drunk.
Okay.
I've never had a drink. I've never touched alcohol. I don't know what he's talking about. Haram.
Okay.
No, but I think I properly started drinking after I started working at Sidecar. Before that, it was more like a party scene, getting drunk, getting sloshed, enjoying. Mostly like that.
No, but what I meant was that did you come across alcohol when you went out with friends, or you have seen people around you while growing up consuming alcohol, were they drinking alcohol generally on its own, or when did you see cocktails for the first time? I meant that way.
I think like alcohol in general was a very normal thing. I grew up in Delhi, so it was something that you would see around every day. I have family, I have cousins who drink, so that was a very starting drinking was not a very big deal for me. That was a very normal thing. But then cocktails, I probably came across during my college. But even that was not a very big exposure. When I actually joined Sidecar was my major exposure, because I never intended to be a bartender. So I did not have that much interest. Eventually, when I started working was when I got to know about it, understood what it was and everything.
So if we go back to your education before you started hotel management, what was that education which was 11th and 12th?
Yeah, 11th,
particular subject which you...
I did commerce.
Commerce.
Yeah.
And then how did you end up taking up hotel management?
So it's this story. So I have a cousin, okay, who did hotel management while I was, I think, in 10th standard. And he was interning with Apoorvas. So it's like hardcore interns and everything. So he used to do 22-hour shift, and I would look at him and I was like, okay, this looks really fun, to be out and working for 22 hours, 24 hours straight. So genuinely, that's how exactly it sounded fun in my head that time, and that's actually why I pursued hotel management. No other reason.
So when you went to pursue hotel management, did you know you will get into bartending?
No idea.
You will learn about liquor and bartending and all of that?
Not really. I actually, I came into the industry thinking I want to be a chef and, I'm going to be this Sanjeev Kapoor situation someday and everything. Okay. But I think when I got into college, my F&B professor was very nice, and I actually started working with him a lot. So that's how I got into F&B in general. Then COVID hit. I was at home and I realized, okay, I want to do something with my time. I didn't want to sit idle. So I interned at a bar called FIO in Delhi. And they put me on the hostess desk at first. And then I was like, I want to get more into operations. So they were low on manpower in the bar. So they put me in the bar. And that's how that bar interest actually started.
Right.
That's where wanting to learn about liquor or wanting to learn about cocktails started for me.
Okay. See, generally the perception is that if you get into hotel management and get into the industry, it's a tough industry to work with, long hours, physical stress, a lot of things, right? Now, I think many youngsters would not want to get into hotel management and do things. But can you maybe pick a few things which you learned during your college which are really strong, or the fundamentals of what you are today, and what are those things in college which you learn, which you really think that this education actually helped me to achieve what I have achieved today?
I think hotel management, more than, teaching you the technicals or something, they groom you to become somebody. And I think you see that difference every day. You will see somebody who's done hotel management, you can spot them from afar away.
Yeah.
So I think how I speak, how I sit, how I talk was something that I picked up from my college. That was the major part that changed in me during college.
But But you found the interest in beverage as such while you were in college or after that?
No, I think after that, because in hotel management, you don't get that much exposure to beverage in general.
Okay.
Like you do probably 2 classes about cocktails and they may show you how to make it. But I think that's pretty much it.
And after college, which was your first job?
It was Sidecar.
Sidecar.
This is my first job, yeah.
What did you join Sidecar as?
So during my college, I joined as an intern because I was a COVID. So after FIO, I did my industrial training and then I joined Sidecar because I had met Rohan by then.
Okay.
And then after that, I went back to college, I graduated and then I joined back as an assistant bartender.
Assistant bartender. And I mean, we envy the legend Ananda Plama, right? We would want to be there to what he has achieved, and he's recently been awarded as the industry icon also, right? I mean, I would want to work under him and gain some sort of experience with the huge amount of experience what he has. How was it to work with him or at Sidecar? What is the culture there?
I think specifically working with Lama sir is a really good experience, and I genuinely recommend a lot of young bartenders to do that because he'll give you a very different perspective of everything.
Right.
Because somebody who's just started in the industry, you have a very different perspective. You have a different approach to everything. He will tell you what you should become and, how to do things probably when you're 10 years down the lane. And I think that's what's important. You have to have a view of what you want to do. You can't just live in like today and be through. But working at Sidecar, again, it was my first job. So for me, everything that I've learned, I've picked up right from making an old-fashioned to stirring, shaking, everything I've learned at Sidecar. So that's sort of the world I know.
Right.
So I mean, I can't tell you what exactly is the difference, but you get like the sense of team in general at Sidecar and the company like as a whole. That's very strong.
Okay.
Like they make sure that, they treat the team as a family. So you always feel like you're at home, you're at ease, you're not, somewhere out of your comfort zone.
Okay. When did you join Sidecar?
I joined Sidecar in 2022.
Okay.
August. Yeah.
And after you joined Sidecar, then you won the scholarship for the 50 Best Bars Blend. Take us through that journey. How did you get to know about it? How did you apply for it? How did you win it?
There's something I actually won before that nobody knows about.
Okay.
So Bakari did this House of Change, I think in 2022 or 2023 beginning.
Okay.
Which I applied for, and eventually they got to me saying that, send us a photo of your passport, you won it. So we'll get you the visa because the prize was to go to Singapore.
Okay.
And that time I was 20.
Okay.
And they realized it when I gave them my passport.
Okay.
So they had to withdraw the price away because I was not legal drinking age.
So, wasn't the hotel management for 3 years?
Yeah.
So you would have finished 12th when you were 18?
I finished 12th when I was 17.
17. And then 3 years of hotel management, so 20. All right. Okay. Funny.
This is somebody, like, there's something nobody knows, like, because we never got to come out about it.
Through this podcast.
So I was really heartbroken after that, and I think this happened probably 2023 Jan, and the scholarship was starting around May 2023, and Rohan had just sent me the link saying that you should apply for this. And the year before this, also the year they started, I wanted to apply, but I did not have. So they have an experience limit. I did not have enough, so I did not apply. So this time I was like, I want to go for it. And I applied. I probably wrote the most essays for a competition you could ever imagine through this entire process, because the competition was more about, who you are. They would ask us questions about what your belief is, what you see for the industry as a future, and all of these things. So that started, and then it took about almost 6 months by the time I won.
So you applied, and how many contestants are there?
So I applied in May for the first round. That year, Rohan, the guy who works with Beam, he came back to me saying, Apoorva, this year we have the most number of participants from India. So if you don't make it, please don't feel bad about it. And I was like, shit, scared about it.
Right.
And then they announced top 25, which I was the only Indian that time. I think probably the only Asian as well. No, yeah, I was the only Indian then. Then they came out with top 10. And then they came out with top 5.
Right.
And then we did the final round for the scholarship. And then they flew down the top 3.
Can you take us through the rounds? How was...
Yeah. So the first round was basically they asked us 5 questions, somewhat on the lines of what are the attributes of a good bartender according to you, or what do you see as the future of a future positive industry as for hospitality, and then very basic stuff about us and our beliefs and what you've done. So we did like a 90-second video just talking. There was no cocktail making, so it was something very new to me. You're very used to making cocktails and talking about cocktails, but it was like a sit-down 90-second video just talking to the camera about what my beliefs were. And then they announced top 25. After that, we did another round of, I think, 5 or 6 essays. And then on the top 10, we did a cocktail, which would be your take on the future positive aspect of the industry. So it doesn't just have to be like a sustainable cocktail. It has to have like a future positive aspect about it.
What was the drink you made for that?
So I made a very simple drink. So right outside Sidecar, we have a wood apple tree, which is also called Beetle. So we had Beetle on the road. So I genuinely just picked up Beetle from there. And we used to get a lot of coffee waste because of we were making cold brew. So we just did something with that. Because for me, sustainability was not something that I was just, like I wanted to do it for a competition. It was something that I genuinely believed in. Like I would take up whatever leftover we would have in the bar and make anything out of it. It doesn't necessarily, have to translate to a drink. We would make face masks for the team out of the coffee we would have. We would make soaps, anything. So the drink I made was like a gimlet with Bale, coffee, and Roku.
And?
Roku. Yeah, the brand. And then after that, they announced the top 5. Then the top 5 had an interview, one-on-one, like a video call interview with the owners of both of the bars that we were going to visit. So I had an interview with Simone. We had Jean on the call. We had Mark Sampson from 50 Best. We had Kelsey Ramage from Trash Collective. And I think we had somebody from Beam as well.
Okay.
And then we did a video call interview. They asked us about... It was the same thing all over and over again. They would just keep asking us very similar questions in different words where they would try to understand what we believe in as people.
Okay.
And then they announced the top 3. And then we were all flown to Singapore for the ceremony.
For the ceremony.
Yeah.
And how was the experience when your name was announced? And
if you... Like, I have that video. I still remember just before the ceremony... So I think the announcement was supposed to happen between the 30th and the 40th bar somewhere. So they got us just at the bottom of the steps because whoever would win have to go up immediately. So I was so freaked out, and I remember Meenakshi ma'am hadn't reached the venue by then, and Pankaj was there. So Rohan was so angry. I think they had just announced 36 or 37, and I ran. I ran from the stairs to the end of the warehouse. And I'm like, Pankaj, you have to come stand with me. I can't do this alone. So there was like a space where the people who, like the bars, representing the people representing the bars who've just won standing. And then there was everybody else in the audience. So I literally gave him my shaker. I held it and we ran. We literally ran there and we stood there. And I think as soon as they announced, I was in shock. I didn't know what had just happened. I just walked up. People still tell me that, when we look at that video, it seemed like you were prepared. I wasn't. Not in my wildest dreams had I ever imagined winning. I was just, okay, they've called me. I just went up. I took everything. I hadn't processed anything. I took the award. I came down. And I remember by the time I came down, Meenakshi ma'am, Holly, Pankaj, everybody was standing there. And I came down sobbing. And as soon as I came down, Holly popped a champagne. And this is like in the back, 50 West is still announcing the bars, people are celebrating, and we're partying on our own, just under the stairs. So that was like, that is when it actually hit me what had happened when I stepped down of the stage. When I saw people celebrating me. Like, I still remember Holly and Meenakshi ma'am, they had tears and they hugged each other and they said something which still stays with me, is that we made it. They did not say, she made it or she did it. They said we made it. And I understood what their point of view was. For them, I was not just me, I was like an Asian woman who had done something on a global platform.
Yeah, I mean, it's really an incredible achievement.
It was, I still like those words. It gave me goosebumps standing there. And then after all of that, I was sobbing. My nose was running, and I'm talking Pankaj. I'm like, Pankaj, so this didn't happen. And he still has that jacket, okay, with my snot and tears all over it. He's like, I'll send you dry cleaning, bro. No, but that moment was very surreal for me.
And before we, move on to what happened during the scholarship, I would like to go back to how you started up, right? Now, generally, the industry is not being very favorable to women, especially working behind the bar. Sometimes it also looks like a male-dominating kind of environment. And also, when you work at bars, people get intoxicated and they may not treat a woman the way a woman should be treated, right? Can you tell us maybe a few challenges which you faced for our audience and how did you navigate through that, right? You're young, you're just getting into the industry and you are meeting a lot of new people. Because while we talk about how your scholarship experience was, I would like to connect the difference from how you started off and what did you see here to what you see outside of the country. So how was it when you started off?
So when I started off, I was the first female intern that Sidecar had. So we had to make a lot of changes. They were still getting used to me. But I think by the time I joined, because I had already been there, I was in a very comfortable space. I understand a lot of women before me have faced a lot of challenges. But I think because of them, I had Meenakshi ma'am, right? So she had seen a very tough time being a female bartender, and I think that is why she made sure that she made it easier for me. Right. So per se, I did not face such big issues. Like I would not face, discrimination of anything or of that sort. But I do understand when you're standing behind a bar, it's not just the team you're working with. You are also very vulnerable to the people opposite to the bar.
Yes.
So we did have a few problems where guests would misbehave or something would happen. But I think the team was so well built on the values that we had, where everybody needs to feel protected. And it doesn't matter who, if it's me or if it's you, but it was like a very deep value in general. So that way the team was very supportive to take care of me, where they would know when to get me out of a situation, when to stop somebody, when to ask somebody to leave. But we did, for me, initially it was a very scary situation where if we had to ask somebody to leave because of me. But then I understood that, this was the value that we had. And we still do it. Now we have more female interns coming in. We have a new assistant bartender with us who's a female. So I know where I have to draw that boundary for her as well, because I saw that culture.
All right. So, and since you finished that, it's about 2 years, you won the scholarship?
No, last
since
year.
You started working?
No, I had started working exactly a year after I won, and now it's been the second year.
It's been the second year. So how was the entire scholarship process? Where did it start off from?
So as I told you, the application and everything started off.
You won the scholarship, then what?
Okay.
Yeah.
So after that, I had 3 stages, which was one. So I would get 2 weeks at each of the stage. One was going to Sips at Barcelona. Then there was Alchemico in Colombia. And then I would also get to intern with the Blend Global at the corporate office. But then Blend Global absorbed as a body. Yeah. So then that sort of got cut off. But then I still got to the bars. So the idea was actually to do both of the bars back to back so that I could, scramble as much as I could and then bring it back to everybody. But then we had a lot of visa troubles and everything. So the scholarship got a little extended. So I just tapped up, I think, last month.
Okay.
So it started off in April when I went to Sips at Barcelona, and then it was a great experience, man. It was so I'll tell you how I got into actually applying for the scholarship was that I had met Simone last year.
Okay.
The year before that. In June we went to Milan where he was doing a guest shift, and I remember at a hotel. And the people who were hosting us in Milan, they knew I had a huge crush on Simone. And they were like, okay, we'll take you to meet somebody. They didn't tell me where they were taking me. So they were like, best in your, dress up in your best dress. And I got ready and we went. And I saw him. I remember I saw him through the garden. I was like, shit, this man. Because he's somebody who I sort of started watching when I started bartending. I would watch his videos, I would watch his prior experiences, and I did learn a lot from him. So actually seeing him there, it was surreal. So I went up to him. I remember he was like bartending, he was making drinks, and I just stood at the bar like this. Literally, like I was like fangirling like this. But the thing was that I actually got to experience him and his hospitality in general. Like the way he would make everybody in the room feel so nice. He would make sure that, everybody's attended to, everybody has a drink. That hospitality that he would show to everybody was something I had not seen before. So I actually wanted to go to SIPS, and I think I sort of manifested it, because throughout the year I would keep telling people one day I'll go to SIPS. You see, like since the starting of my journey at Sidecar, I would keep saying that, and I think that's how I manifested it. So in April I got to go there. I got to work with him, which was a very, very different experience than what I would have thought of.
Okay.
Because
what did you think of it? How was it different?
So when you think of the best bar in the world, you think of these people who are very they're like uptight, and okay, we're the best bar, we're the best bartenders. But there was nothing of that sort. You would, if you enter like SIPS, you would not even see one red scarf. They don't hang it. Because in their mindset is the fact that we're a good bar, and that's it. That's all we're here for. We're not here to call ourselves the best bar. That is something that people are doing for us. But for us, we just have to run operations. We have to give great service, great drinks every day after day. So that was something that was very different, which I did not expect. And then it was my first time in Barcelona as well. So they were super, super hospitable. They made sure every morning they would check on me saying, "You're okay? You're coming to work today. Do you need anything? Do you need anybody to come pick you up?" So they were super nice about that. And then Simone as a person was very different than what I would have thought. I had probably 2 conversations with him before I had gone to Barcelona, and he would not talk so much to me. But I remember when I went to Barcelona, oh my God, he every day in, day out, he would ask me, "How are you? What's up? What's happening? Where did you visit?" Like he would make sure that he was checking up on me. And it was not just him, it was every person in that team. Right from Mark, Filippo, anybody, like wherever they would see me, they would ask me, "What are you doing? What did you see new? What did you eat? What happened with you?" All of those things. So that was something that I had not seen before. Then I also got to experience Sips Essentia, which I actually did not know about before that. So Sips Essentia is also a part of Sips, but it's a completely different entity where they do tasting experiences.
Right.
So coming from India, I did not know a lot about tasting experiences. We know about food tastings, but this was the first time I saw like a cocktail tasting. So I think for me, that experience was probably what stood really out. Like Drinkery House is a great bar, great hospitality, but at the end of the day, it was a bar that, I have seen before. I've seen a lot of bars. But then Essentia was a whole new experience. The small details they would make sure of. They would pay attention to such things we would not even think about, honestly. Like if we open a bar, right, you always know that you will have a hawthorn, you will have a fine stainer. So they actually designed a hawthorn because the concept of Essentia was that it has to be nothing like a bar.
Okay.
So they don't have shakers, they don't have stirring glasses, they don't have bar spoons. Everything there is something that would not resemble a bar.
Oh, okay.
So they stir their drinks in not mixing glasses actually. What do you call that? What you see in the chemistry labs, guys? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, like almost the same size beakers. They would not use bar spoons. They would use like this big straw kind of situation where they would stir and the same maybe do it with straws, right? Then they had a hawthorn that Mark had designed for them, which would look like a coffin shape essentially.
Oh.
And it had like holes in the middle. So you would do the same thing, but it was very different. There was no ice well. You would not see a tap.
Oh, wow.
So they placed the tap inside the sink. So you would never see water running or you would never see tap.
Wow.
So that's how crazily they went into that detail part of it. But then the team was also, everybody was really young there, right? So they also learned a lot from everybody. So I remember when I was there, they had just finished R&D on a bonbon, which I don't remember who, I think somebody from Artisan had taught them when they came for a guest shift. where they made bonbons for a garnish. So these guys came up with a bonbon that would be served as a course of the tasting experience. So it would essentially have a cocktail inside the bonbon. So for me, so I come from a slightly high volume bar, at least for Delhi. So for me to see something so intricate was really nice. To learn something so intricate was really nice. So that I did not expect that out of Sips. So that experience sort of changed the whole idea.
So this was the menu, the bonbon, everything was at Essential.
Yeah.
And how was the Sips Drinkery House?
Drinkery House is a great, it's a very casual bar where people come, they have really great conversations. I think the only thing that stood out to me at Drinkery House was the way they would serve. And if anybody's so every drink, the same thing as Paradise. So every drink comes with an experience. But the good part was that they would, whoever's taking the drink would take that experience with them. So for example, they have a drink where they serve bubbles with a bottle of bubbles. So they make sure that whoever's serving will blow the bubbles for you first, show you how to do it, and then they leave it for you to play around with. So that how do I say it? That connection that you would find, sort of bring during that time was something that I really liked.
And how large is the team at Sips?
The Sips team is, I think, 15 people. Not a lot of people.
Okay. And what is the ratio of men and women?
It's actually almost equal.
Wow.
So that was another thing I got to see that was very different. It was as many as girls as boys.
Right.
I have never seen that before at a bar in India.
Right.
So that was something. And the thing is that I don't think that they have these conversations there because they're so used to it. I think if now at Sidecar, nobody would frown upon or, be surprised if they saw a female even after me or before me at a bar. Because they're used to seeing me, they're used to working with me. So that that experience, I think, will change a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm sure it is definitely changing in India also.
Yeah.
With what you have done to what Ashi Bhatnagar has done, or Mini what she has done.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
I think it's like a big shift which is happening, and it's very welcoming and encouraging for women in their country also to get into this as a profession. But otherwise, generally it is that you don't want to be working late hours and...
No, but I think because, now that we have a few females, it also sort of, tells you that, it's okay. It doesn't seem like a big deal. Just before me, Ashi had one, right? So it was very normal. I was like, okay, she's done it. That's great. So I felt more safer, more comfortable doing all of these things. I did not feel that, okay, I'm a female. But that's always sort of been my perspective. I don't look at myself as, okay, I'm a female bartender. I've always tried to, keep this at the team as well. Where if you try to, if you say that, okay, she's a female bartender, that's when you are differentiating between the two. So when I won, the whole idea of me winning was not Indian female winning. It was an Indian bartender winning. That was all. The conversation of, female and male comes when it has happened. But I don't know. I don't think that now. So if you look at the top 25 this year, there were 3 female bartenders.
Right.
I think there was Priyanka from ZLB. There was Kartika from Papas.
Yeah.
And there was one more person I remember.
Kolkata?
I think from Northeast. Yeah. Okay. But that's what, last year, going from, somebody telling me that, this is the most amount of entries from a country to coming where there are 3 people in the top 25, which is phenomenal for a country in general, leave alone the female conversation. 3 people from a single country, that's a phenomenal result.
Right. So, with what you have been doing in terms of your work or the scholarship, right? If you look at the personal side of it, do you have, say, bartenders who you have probably visited when you go to other bars or anywhere, message you and ask you, how are you able to navigate this? Do they ask you for tricks or suggestions or things like that?
Yeah, I think this was the good part. I think, so even when I was going through my scholarship, I remember texting Drew, who was the former winner before me. So it was the same thing. A lot of people around the world texted me that, we need help. How did you do this? What did I ask you? And I think it was fun because I like talking in general, but being able to talk to people who wanted to learn about something or, how my experience was, it was fun. I think about 12, 15 people reached out to me asking about, how did you go through this stage? What did they ask you in this stage? What did you answer in this stage? So that, I think that was like a general thing. It didn't have anything to do with, where I come from or who I am.
Okay. Can you maybe tell us a few of the things, maybe in terms of the work, which you have started implementing maybe in Sidecar, or the way you work behind the bar after your learnings from the scholarship?
I think,
Changed.
yeah, like apart from like the internal you grow and everything, there's a lot of things that we've started doing, which I picked up at both of the bars, that we started doing at Sidecar. Right from, so the thing was that Alchemico had a great fermentation program. And this is something I want to talk about to every bar that I've been to in India since I've come back, so they have a person who used to be a winemaker, right? So he knows a lot more about fermentation than you and I would know. So they were nice enough to offer this, that, if anybody who wants to get on a call, talk to us about how to do something. So they gave me tasters, okay? So they made me make mango wine, this, that, everything. And I brought it back with me. So the idea was that I could be able to bring it to everybody to taste. And then eventually, if somebody wants to deeply get into fermentation or distillation, they have a really good team for that. So they were open to the fact that we can do, if you do a masterclass somewhere and, somebody wants to know about it, we'd be open to do calls with them. We'd be open to, collaborate with them. So that is something that I wanted to put into change, but we're already doing it at Sidecar. We are sort of, every now and then we have a chat with them if we need help with something, if you want to do something with fruit wines or anything of that sort.
Okay.
Apart from that, I think Alchemico had a really, really great work culture, which I'm trying to inculcate. But I think it's still it's something that's like a work in progress for a very long time, because changing a work culture is slightly difficult. But I think with Sidecar, it's slightly more easier because we have those values in general.
Right.
So it's just everybody knew who's coming and we're trying to inculcate into them as well.
So, but what is the work culture which you saw?
So, Alchemico is a team of 67 people.
Wow.
They do 2,000 and something cocktails every night. They do almost 2.5 thousand cocktails every night.
Okay.
So the most fun, the thing that really intrigued me there was the fact that in so much, rush and everything, they were still very calm. You would see every bartender enjoy, be dancing, be singing. If you ever see an Alchemico story, right, you will see at least one bartender dancing. Always. Because that was their culture. So I asked them, so I had a masterclass with them where I was supposed to talk to them. But after the masterclass, I was like, okay guys, now I have few questions. So we sat and I was asking them, and they were like, there was something that really hit me, where I asked them, how do you guys keep your calm? How do you guys keep your chill? And they were like, it's nothing. If I see you losing your calm, I will come to you, joke around, fuck around, and we'll be fine. This is what, we have to have each other's back. And that is something that we have to do in the entire industry in India in general. If I have your back, I know both of us can grow together. So that value was something that I wanted to inculcate. And I want to do that for not just my existing team, but also to every new person that's coming into the industry. Because you have to understand, I can't just, grow all alone. We have to do it together.
Right.
So that was a really fun thing that I would see. They would always be really calm, and I just freak out thinking about 2,500 cocktails a night. I just freak out. And they were so calm. They would always be dancing, singing, having the time of their life. You would see them. And that's what, it was so fun to work with them because they were genuinely having fun.
And you mean to say 67 people?
In the entire bar.
Bar. How?
No, not in the bar.
I understood the whole team.
Yeah.
How large is this space?
This place is spread across 3 floors.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the square foot, but it's almost double Sidecar, and that's 1 floor.
Okay.
And then there's 3 floors, and then each floor has a different menu.
Whoa. Okay.
So that also comes into play. So they shuffle their bartenders across these 3 floors. So every day you're making 10 different drinks altogether. So that was something that I really liked, that you give your consumers option. You give them a very different vibe. So each floor would have a very different vibe also. So the first floor would be like a proper party place. People are dancing, having the time of their life. There's a live DJ every night. So it's a proper like a rage party thing. And then second floor becomes slightly more low, like slightly more date centric. So they would only have tables for two. So they would be slightly calmer. And then the third floor is like a complete dive bar. They do tiki cocktails. You would actually feel like, you know, you're in Colombia. You're by the beach probably at best and having the time of your life. So they also design the drinks in sense of where they're serving it. So if you're on the top floor, you know that your prep is in the first floor. So it will be difficult to bring prep up. So they are trying, when I was there, they were trying to make the entire menu completely carbonated cocktails. Because it's obviously hot there. So it's nicer to drink, it's easier to store, easier to pour, easier to get ready.
Wow, I think we can keep chatting about your experiences for hours.
I think I spent 2 weeks, I can speak for 5 weeks about it.
Okay. I think we'll probably deviate a little from the scholarship now.
Okay.
And what I want to know is now a lot of young bartenders get into the industry, right? I mean, probably when I got into the industry to learn bartending, it was you learn from your mentor or someone, right? But now with the access of information through social media or the internet, the perception or the way you look at things is very, very different. Now, what would be your advice or direction which you would give young bartenders who get into the industry as to when you start working, how do you go about learning new things?
I think I'm very old school like that. I mean, I believe that you need a mentor.
You're making me look young now when you said you're very old.
Yeah. No, man. I mean, I still like, a lot of people have told me that, you know, this is probably not the right approach. But I think you need a mentor. You need somebody to whoop your ass. You need somebody to push you. You need somebody to give you a reality check of what you're doing, where you're standing. I think that's what sort of pushed me when I started. So I had Rohan and he would whoop my ass. I would be having a random lunch. He will come and he will start talking about life with me and I would end up crying. It's like, what am I doing with my life? Oh my God. But you need that somebody. You need somebody to have those conversations with you. You can't very blankly just, you know, keep grasping up cocktails and think I'll be a great bartender. You need to grow. Right. You need to know where you're going. You need to have a 5-year plan or whatever your plan you think works for you. But you need somebody who's older than you to, or, you know, is more experienced than you to tell you what your reality is and how to get where you want to get.
What's that one most underrated skill you think has made a huge difference in your career?
Do you want like the real skill or just...
It's a no-filter podcast. The real skill.
No, I think for me, it was... I don't want to say skill, but it was something that I sort of had, was being very out there. Like I'm a very talkative person in general. So if somebody's sitting at my bar, I would talk to them. If I'm meeting somebody, I would talk to them. Like I enjoy talking to everybody, like asking 100 questions. So I think that was something that took me really far in general. Where that's how I went into Sidecar. That's how the scholarship happened. Like I did not even have the experience when I asked Rohan sir for the first time to apply for it. So the next day he told me that you should do it because he knew that I wanted to. So actually putting my thought out there, asking questions was something that I think it's very underrated. People tell you, you know, to filter before you speak and all of that. But sometimes you actually need to be out there. You have to talk to everybody. You have to be a little social.
So now a lot of young bartenders look up to you and want to get into the industry. What would be that one advice you would give them if they want to grow their career in this industry?
I think...
it can be specific to bartending.
Yeah. Okay. I think find a mentor. Because that made a huge, huge difference for me. And I think that sort of changes everything for you. If you have a mentor, sometimes I've seen a lot of people go in the wrong direction as well. I've seen people quitting bartending a lot. But that's what a mentor is, you know, supposed to sort of prevent from happening. You have somebody to talk to. You have somebody to look up to.
Right.
So probably it's like, look at somebody and think that, you know, I want to be somewhat like this.
Right.
To have that, to look at like that aim sort of thing. You need that. Because without that, it's very aimlessly doing anything. I've seen a lot of bartenders just come into the industry, work for probably 2 years and then disappear.
Right.
But to sort of sustain, you need a goal. You need somebody to look at somebody and be like, okay, I want to be like that.
So before you got into the industry, who were you looking up to? Who you thought I should get mentored by this person?
So that's how I went to Sidecar. It was when I was industrial training during my college in Goa. I met Rohan. And they were the same thing that was with Simone, right? That I looked at him, I looked how he worked the room, I saw how he talked to people, how he was hospitable. And that's sort of what intrigued me to want to work with him. I did not want to be a bartender. I just wanted to go work with him. That's it. He was like, okay, I can hire you as an intern. Come work with me.
Right.
So that's how bartending eventually happened for me.
Okay. Well, so let's switch gears a little. We'll talk about the most important thing, which is drink responsibly.
Yeah.
You've seen both sides.
Yeah.
Right? You see people consuming alcohol and bartenders as well. What is your thoughts on that? How do you manage to drink responsibly? Of course, when you meet a lot of bartenders in maybe events or guest shifts or whatever, there's a lot of consumption of alcohol. But how do you go about drinking responsibly?
I think in general, I'm a very moderated person. Like if you see me with anything, like I do work in like a moderate thing. I have, hobbies out of work and all of that. So it was the same with drinking. I have a very moderate drink. If you see me at probably an industry event, you would see me with a drink. Otherwise, you will never see me drinking. I'm a very food-centric, food-heavy person in general.
Okay.
So it came really easy for me, but I did see a lot of, people around me having those problems. And I think it sort of needs to be inculcated. I've seen people, the same thing that you were telling me that, you take out your team to drink with you. I think that's where it starts. Even earlier they used to, people used to tell me that, when drinking starts at home, it's very safer. Because it's being done in a moderated behavior. It's the same thing. Now this is our home for us. We spend more time here than at our home, right? So you taking your team out to sort of get them started is you teaching them moderation. It's the same thing again that, you're a mentor to them. You tell them that this is your moderation. This is okay to do when you're drinking. This is not okay for you to do when you're drinking. So it's the same thing that I don't want to say it needs to be monitored, but it sort of needs to come from a safer space. You have to understand you need to be safer not just for yourself but other people as well.
Right. I mean, within the span of time, what you've achieved is really incredible, right? I mean, my team, or I think a lot of people who even watch this podcast would love to hear more stories about how you have achieved this, right? But I'm also curious to know, what do you look forward for your future? How do you think it's going to go?
I think, so honestly, I don't do like 5-year plan situation. I have really short-term goals. I get to them and then I set a new one. Okay. Because I believe that, if I set a 5-term goal today, what if I achieve it in a year or two, and then what do I do? What do I look up to for the next 3 years?
Right.
So for me, short-term goals work better. Right now, for me, is to set up Sidecar in a way where it's not just a great bar to visit, but it's also a really great bar to work. Because anyway, Sidecar is an institution, okay? But it also needs to be, continued that way. Ramaswamy and Meenakshi, they've inculcated great values in us. But we need to take that forward. It cannot end with us. So right now, I'm sort of working at trying to bring everything that I've learned at both of the bars here. Because, the next Sips could be in India.
Great. Oh yeah, that's something which can happen also. Yeah.
It's like Indians, I firmly believe that, Indians, like in general, they're very used to, like, hospitality is not something that we have to be taught. I grew up with a big family. 10 people would come for birthday, 15 people would come for anniversaries. I was used to all of this. So hospitality was something that came very normally to me. And I think in general, that's the thing for the entire country. We're used to hosting people at our houses as kids. We've grown up with this. So we can anyway do way better than anybody who's doing anywhere else in the world.
Right. And in terms of cocktail programs in different bars, you've seen Alchemico, you've seen Sips, you are having, working with the cocktail program in Sidecar. How would you go about ideating a cocktail?
So honestly speaking, this is something that a lot of people might not agree with. but I prefer my drinks to be very simple. I don't like very heavy terms. I don't like very niche ingredients. I like very simple things. But they have to be made right.
Okay.
So for like, if I go to a bar, right, and if I have to see how good your bartender is, I would not have probably like a milk washed or a clarified drink. I would ask for a daiquiri. I would ask for a pina colada. If you can nail a pina colada, you can do anything in this world.
Oh, wow.
You will be surprised at how few good pina coladas I've ever had.
Where was your best pina colada?
So there was this bar in Milan. So they have a concept where they have two areas within the same space, but they open the tropical part of it during summers.
Okay.
So that time they get fresh ingredients. They do everything like right from the farm to glass situation. And that was where I had like probably the best pina colada in the world. Nobody could match that, I think. It was so rich to taste. I like till this date, I very clearly remember the taste. Okay. And everywhere I go, I try to find that. Everywhere. But it's not just about a pina colada. It's in general. If you can nail a simple sweet and sour drink, is when I think you're a great bartender. And then if I'm coming as a consumer, right, probably you and I would understand the importance of fermentation, lacto-fermentation, clarification, all of this. As a consumer, you just want a great tasting drink. You don't care if it's banana, if it's strawberry, if it's pandan, whatever it is. As long as it's tasting good. That's what you're paying for, right? A lot of times I've seen a lot of bars lose touch of that. They lose touch of the fact that you're supposed to cater to guests, not industry.
Okay.
You make a very complex cocktail menu for the industry, but eventually the guests end up ordering whiskey sours and old fashions. And what is the point?
Okay. So how do you go about, if I have to tell you, can you create a menu of 6 drinks for a bar? When you say, I would like to do simple drinks, what is the step you take in order to create the menu?
So I'll give you like a very simple example that we have at Sidecar right now, which is a drink called the Connaught, which is a variation of an espresso martini. Everybody loves an espresso martini. We know that everybody needs an espresso martini on a weekend. So you have to make sure that you have drinks that people like to have, but you give your own touch to it. So for us, for example, that specific menu was about Delhi. So we added Karachi biscuit essence to it. We added a bit of Beetle blueberry to give it slight, earthiness. So that drink came out really well. Because at the end of the day, it's also like, this is something I like to do with all of the menus, is the fact that menus work on nostalgia. When you can trigger something inside somebody's head with the drink, right? Either it's curiosity or it's a memory. It's one of each. Like, I would order a drink if it makes me think, okay, wow, this drink sounds really good. Or I would have a drink if I think, okay, I might have had something like this. Like, we do a drink with ruafza.
Okay.
And every time I go abroad, I make everybody try it. At first, when people try ruafza, they might not be a fan of it. But when the drink comes out, it's something that they love. So it's our take on the mohabbat ka sharbat that you get in Delhi. Right. So if it's somebody that stays in India, it would be like a memory that they would trigger. And if it's somebody that's visiting from outside, this is also our culture. Right. So the drink needs to have a story. It needs to trigger either of those two. And it needs to be a well-balanced drink. That's it. I slightly prefer more sweeter stuff. I don't like so much of a spirit-forward drink. So for me, pina coladas and daiquiris work.
Okay.
But you also need to have all sorts of drink. You can't just be catering to the sweet and sour painter.
Yes.
You need to have probably a Manhattan or a martini. People love martinis right now. Like, I've seen like 10 different kinds of dirty martinis made out of everything else but like an olive. So that's something I really like.
What's your favorite drink on Sidecar menu?
On Sidecar menu? Which ones? No, I think...
Current menu.
So, I think the cilantro is really nice. I think the Beetle is really nice. It was actually very underrated until you guys came. I did not try the Beetle so often. After you guys came, we started paying really close attention to it. Because Beetle was something that, Delhi people were not really fond of, because you get like 10 Beetles drinks in Delhi anyway. So people would not want to try the same thing again. But after you guys came is when we realized that, okay, this for people coming up from out of Delhi, this is something very different. So we need to also make sure that this is exactly the same.
Okay.
So I think Beetle is really nice as well.
Right.
Huh.
Aside.
Let's not say the word.
Let's not say your word.
Let's not say the word.
We should do rapid fire.
Yeah.
I'm thinking what questions do I ask you for rapid? Oh yeah.
No, bro.
This will be nice.
No, bro. No. No, Avinash.
No, this is really easy. Yeah, we'll pick all her drinks and which she likes.
Ask you Miami Vice also.
Yeah.
There is Mac. I don't see Mac.
Okay, now you're recording, right? Okay. So we'll do a rapid fire question. Okay. You have to tell me the first industry person who you think of when I name the cocktail. Okay. Martini.
Meenakshi ma'am.
Negroni.
Negroni. Pankaj sir.
I thought you'll say Rohan. It's
Why would I say Rohan? Rohan, I have a different cocktail. I have it in my mind. Let's do this again. Now I'm prepared.
Let's do this again.
Let's
Pina colada.
Pina colada Mac.
Okay. Daiquiri.
Rama sir.
Old fashioned.
Rohan sir.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for being part of this podcast. It's been wonderful, very inspirational conversation. I think genuinely, really, really happy for what you have been doing and inspiring a lot of bartenders. I wish you all the best.
Why are you laughing? He's wishing me luck and he's laughing.
And I said, I wish you all and you're laughing at it. I think they're going to get a lot of snippet out of this for reels. Okay. But as part of the podcast, at the end of the podcast, we always do a dance home which goes as a thumbnail. Okay.
Oh, what?
So you have to turn behind and do this.